What is going on, everybody? It's Will from the future. And the reason I'm doing this, I'm recording this and adding it in cut later. I got to do a pretty wonderful experience with some guys I've gotten to know over the last few months. Liam Kilpatrick and Kirby Heck. They have the podcast, the Shared Minds podcast, out of Australia. And they have a clear mission. They want to be the number one mental health podcast in all of Australia. So we share a common theme and a common message around trying to end the stigma in mental health. So we thought, what better way to do that than to bring our audiences together and share in one special moment. So we did an episode. It was clear based on the end of that we're going to definitely have more conversations. So stay tuned for part 2. But just wanted to quickly intro that. So without further ado, here's the episode. All right, so we're kicking this off. We've got
Without an intro
because we're gonna do this in cut. Because who doesn't love it when a sitcom has the crossover episode with another sitcom breaking the fourth wall? We just decided, fuck it, we're gonna do the same thing, but Australia versus the United States mental health podcast with mental health podcast. And he wanted to talk about the weather, but fuck that. Kirby. You're getting married in 5 days?
Sunday. So it's on Monday today. So Sunday, yes. So by the time this one launches for us and maybe for you, it'll be done. I'll be newlywed.
Be a married man.
Yeah. And Liam's as far from it as you can be.
Oh, fuck yeah. Doesn't get much further.
Throwing his dating life under the bus already.
Right.
All right, we'll get to that in a minute. But how are you feeling 5 days out?
Well, I had a wedding last night of a really good friend of mine. And so it was funny, going to hers and watching hers, and me and my fiance were sitting there going when she's walking down the aisle, we'll be like, yeah, this time next week, this will be us. And and then they're doing their first dance. We're like, oh, this time next week, this will be us. And it's kind of I really need to practice dancing again before we get there. So yeah, no, it's going to be very exciting. I can't wait for it. It's going to be a great night. All the boys are going to be there. It's going to be good times. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah, it is interesting going to weddings, especially one when it's a week out from yours. Because that's why I was confused. You had told me you were getting married, and then I saw Liam on your Instagram story. You were all dressed up. I'm like, wait a minute. So what's happening? Who's getting married when?
Happy wedding day, Kirby. I'm like, no, we're just trying these suits on.
We're just trying the suits on. We're just trying suits.
You'll know when the wedding's on.
Oh yeah, you'll know when the wedding's on. Yeah, you'll definitely know.
Well, you and I will then get to share in some of this. So my anniversary, actually, to my wedding is on Wednesday next week.
Oh, wait.
That's not far off, eh?
No.
That'll be almost the same date.
We're getting close, yeah. My wedding, so we were on the 7th. So you'll be what, the
11th?
11th, yeah. So not far. We're celebrating over the weekend, so I'll be with you in spirit.
As you would. We tried for May the 4th for obvious reasons you can see behind my shoulder here, but the venue was taken, and Alicia, my fiance, said it actually works out better because he'll never forget Star Wars Day, and that'll give him a nice reminder that our anniversary is in a week. So,
that's perfect because that's plenty of lead time to get you a gift.
It gives me a week to go, oh, I got to go find something.
Yeah. See, eventually then you get into the phase of you got to figure out, with us, what I learned was it's less about the tangibles, and we just do experiences as gifts.
Yeah. I like that.
It's nice. We create memories as opposed to another thing. Because for us, we moved from Indiana to Florida, which is, I don't know if for you guys have that frame of reference, but that's about, driving wise, that's about from where we were, about 15 hours away. Pretty far distance. Yeah, it's a pretty far distance.
Still wouldn't be in Cairns. Cairns is so far for us. Sorry, cut you off. Keep going.
Will's like, what is Cairns?
Yeah, I was going to say, what? Actually, no, I do want to know. What is Cairns? Is it just a city?
We're at the start of the Queensland border, and it's halfway through Queensland, and it's, what is it, 24 hours?
No, so Cairns is within, so this shows how big Australia is. So the Queensland border pretty much sits at almost the halfway point up the Australian coast. And from where we are, if you drive south, you can get to the bottom faster than what you can get to the top. So you go through 3 states and you get to the bottom in like 18 hours, or you go north and you get to Cairns, which isn't even the top in like 24 hours. So like our one state is huge, like huge. Like,
That's how Florida and Texas are. In Florida,
Yeah.
like you get to Florida and you're like, oh, I'm in Florida, and then people are like, oh, I'm gonna go to Tampa, where I'm at. That's another 7-8 hours to get there, like minimum.
Yeah. Big states.
So we moved from Indiana to Florida, and at that point, I think what happened when you make a 15-hour drive move, and you're bringing your whole life with you. For us, what ended up happening was we realized like we just hate having stuff. We just hate this collection of stuff that happens when you have a house or when you have this place you live. And so from that point on, we both just were like, no, we're done with buying each other like physical, unless like there's something one of us knows the other one really wants and they won't buy it for themselves. We just are like, let's go to concerts, let's do this and that, and just like go on trips and experiences as our gifts to each other, because that's a memory we can have, and it doesn't take up more nonsense space in our house.
Yep.
So
I've always been a pretty bad gift giver as well.
so
Probably
you're
why
saying
I'm
it's
single.
a cop out for me.
Probably why I'm the only single one here.
What do you think is your best?
There could
gift
be a
you've ever
correlation.
given somebody.
Me? Oh, bro. I don't know. I remember. Remember once it was my ex's birthday.
Leaving?
Kirby said leaving. Remember once I was laying on the bench butt naked, and had my legs up, and I had all of her favourite lollies. That would have been a pretty special gift for her.
Her favourite lollies, and I can tell you which one she ate last.
Yeah, he's right.
The gift that lasted all of 90 seconds. Oh, fuck.
I don't even think I got 90 seconds. I think I got 80.
Too distracted by the pretty rappers.
And just a reminder to everybody, this is a mental health podcast.
Yeah, so let's dive into some mental health. Are we going you first or us first?
Whatever way you want to do this. That's the best part about this. There are no rules. We both own our podcast. We can do whatever we want.
That's true.
Ask away.
Well, look, you've done the talking so far, so we'll take it from you.
Let's go.
So tell us about why you decided to get into this area, because your Instagram tag, Mental Health with Will, quite a very specific name. What led you down this path? What made you want to get into mental health?
That's a good question. So for me, the way I always tell people is like, there were a couple of key things looking back in my life that forced me to have to think about mental health in a different way. I've had 6 brain surgeries, and I'm gonna have
What?
Yeah, I know. It's I'm lucky actually in a weird way. Like people who have my condition, there's a large percentage of people that will never go on to be independent adults. It's called hydrocephalus. And
Wow.
so I've had
Hey, what's it called? I want to Google that.
hydrocephalus. So Hydrocephalus.
Got it. Water on the brain?
So, literally, yeah. If you're breaking down the Latin aspect, water on the brain. And so it's really not water; it's cerebral spinal fluid. But the short version of it is, for people who don't have it, your body brings it up to your brain. You have your brain, your skull in the middle. You have cerebral spinal fluid. Your body brings it in and drains it out naturally. Mine brings it in, but none leaves. And so I have a mechanical device called a shunt that drains it out for me.
In your brain?
There's like a straw that goes into the brain, brings it out. There's a nice bulb on the side. It's small. Like you wouldn't notice it looking at me, but if you touched the side of my head, you'd feel it.
Little bump.
Yeah. And then there's like a straw essentially that goes from here down to like my abdominal cavity. It's funny because like there's a decent sized scar on my head, but then right here on my stomach, there's like, when I was a baby, laparoscopic surgery was not super commonplace. So there's a nice one there on my stomach that looks like I got shanked in prison.
Yeah.
Wow.
The rest of them over the years when I've had surgery are pretty small and they've pretty much gone away, but that one has stuck around. So it's always funny when I take my shirt off for the first time and then people are like, And I'm like, yeah, I got stabbed. Don't worry about it.
You're a tough guy. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I came up with all sorts of stories of how I got the scar on my head. Because like if I shave it like it is right now, like you can see it pretty well.
Oh yeah, little bump there.
Yeah. You can see it. Yeah. But again, like not
Yes.
really noticeable if you're
not
not
looking,
looking for it.
Yeah, if you're not looking for it, or when my hair's a bit longer, I literally just got a haircut like 2 days ago. If I don't have a haircut for a while, you wouldn't notice it right away. And so, so I had 2 surgeries when I was a baby. Then I had 3 when I was in high school, and then 1 about 8 years ago.
So, sorry, I want to ask there, like if you go and get like a CT scan or like a full body X-ray, do you just see this line just running down like one half of your body? Is it visible on X-rays or no?
It's very like that part of it on the body part is pretty small. I mean, you would notice it, but not in an extreme way. It's not like a giant thing. It's very, very small. Now, over time, if there's been no need for revision in that part, calcification can start to happen, and so it can get a little thicker. But you call it the CT scan, so that's what happens. So like when it breaks, because it's a man-made piece of plastic, every surgery I've had has been because it breaks eventually.
Yeah.
When it does, this is a little bit of just medical guessing, but they estimate that I've got about 8 hours to get to a hospital, get it replaced, or find the fix, and then, or else I die.
How do you know if it's broken?
You would know.
Feel a bit
I mean,
weird.
to be fair, like the beginning phases, it would just be a really bad headache, and I would get like sick to my stomach from it. But eventually, like I would get to a place where like the pain is so prevalent and there's so much pressure because now there's nothing removing the cerebral spinal fluid, so it's just crashing down on my brain. And at a certain point, like I can't talk, I can't communicate. And your body will start to shut down because it wants to preserve itself. So there was an incident when I was in high school because I hadn't had any issues since I was a baby. There was an incident in high school and I got my temperature. I want to say it was like in the 80s, like a high 80s. Because my body was starting to slip into the coma. Oh yeah, Fahrenheit. Sorry, I don't know what that would be in Celsius offhand.
It sounds high, whatever it is.
Yeah,
it
so
sounds not right.
No, it was definitely creeping into like a coma territory, and so eventually, yeah, the body would shut down, and then it would kill me.
Fuck. How does
So-
that feel? Knowing that at
Awful.
any moment. Yeah.
You know, I've asked myself that 1,000 times because it's like I've just always known it. It's always been a reality of my life. So like, I don't think about it the same. Like when I explain it to people who have never been in my life, they're like, "That sounds like how do you just live with that?" I'm like, "Well, I just do."
Yeah.
The same way you do, because it's not like I don't. It's not like I had a life before this. I was born with it.
Yeah.
So
It's something you've always known.
yeah, and my parents did a really good job of like getting me regularly meeting with the neurosurgeon, getting me regularly meeting with the right people, and like staying on top of it, having a good medical plan. Like at any given time, no matter where I've lived, I've always known, like I've always had like local contact with the neurosurgeon. Hey, this is where we go. This is what we do. Have a plan, see it through. Make sure they have a good regular relationship with me too. That's a big part of it. Like I mentioned before, there's a large percentage of people who have hydrocephalus who, frankly, just won't get to go on to become men. Like they won't get to go on to become independent adults because they are mentally handicapped to a point where like that's not going to be a reality for them.
Wow.
So making them very aware that like I'm in the minority. I'm in the case of people that's like I'm high functioning. You honestly wouldn't know unless I told you.
Yeah.
And so them understanding
That's
that, 'cause it's also good
unreal,
for them
isn't
to,
it?
it's something for them to have a baseline. They need to have a baseline of like what is normal for me. But yeah, so I was born with that. Obviously there's natural mental, emotional things that come with that. The big thing for me that I can look back on in hindsight was that I saw, once I had some issues in high school with it, where I had 3 surgeries when I was in high school, I kind of saw my life as a sunk cost to anybody who was in my life because of everything we just discussed. It's like I'm now this person that's going to be a net negative to anybody who knows me.
Like a burden almost.
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
Exactly. I'm a burden to everyone in my life, and so I have to be exceptional to be worthy of their time. And that's really unfair. But I did that to myself. Like no one put that on me. I put that on myself. And so then I get to my mid-20s and I don't live up to what I think is right, and I start battling with suicidal thoughts and get to a really dark place. And if it wasn't for my dad just showing up unannounced one day, like I don't know that I would be here anymore.
Wow.
And so moved back home, thought I had everything kind of figured out. I didn't. I just buried it like most guys do. And then I was dating a woman for about a year, and then she died unexpectedly.
Wow.
Ooh.
At what age was that?
I was, hold on, I gotta do the math on that. I think I was 26, 25, 26. So I'm 33 now. So yeah, I was about 25, 26. And that was the thing. That reaction you have based on the age, especially. I mean, it's hard to go through that in general, but we put the age component into the equation. It was actually like my dad and my grandfather, which I'm from the Midwest, it's a pretty stoic male society. We don't really talk about feelings that way. Like it wasn't, thankfully, like my dad was pretty open about stuff, but in the grand scheme of it, it just wasn't commonly talked about. But it was my dad and my grandfather who kind of sat me down and were like, kid, like you're not supposed to know how to deal with this.
Yeah, you're too young to be going through this. Like,
yeah, my grandfather was like, I wouldn't know what to do if I lost your grandmother, let alone what you would be going through at this age, like from a maturity standpoint. So that kind of forced me to go to therapy. And in that process, I got into writing. And that was a good way for me. I mean, I always loved it as a kid, but writing with a different purpose. Because when I got to therapy, contrary to what you might think in this conversation, because I've done a lot of the talking, I didn't know what to fucking say. I'm sitting down in this therapy session. I'm like, what? You're supposed to fix me, right?
Yep. Yep.
And so I sat there and I didn't know what to say. And so I found myself in this position. I'm like, shit. What do I do? What do I do? And she's like, how about you in between sessions? Because in the session, you're on the spot. How about in between sessions, you do some writing, you do some soul searching. I'll give you some prompts you can use. And then you could come back with those notes and we could start with that.
Yeah.
And then,
cool.
And then years later, I kind of like, that was kind of like my aha moment. And then years later, I was going through a bit of a transition. I was like, you know what? I think the worst part of all those things that I just described of my story, the worst part of it is I felt entirely alone in my experience. And if there's if there's like one thing that I draw on that's like a superpower of mine, it's that I generally lack shame. It's hard for me to feel embarrassed about anything.
That's me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, we talked before about, the theater background. I did some of that myself. I did public speaking and I'm very comfortable in that realm. And I was like, what a waste of that if I don't use it for something good. So I thought, well, what if
That's what I always thought. Yeah, I always thought that too. I get that. Yeah.
So, okay. So is that kind of a spirit of like what got you guys started as well?
Very, very close to it. Yeah.
We are chronic oversharers, man. We will tell you whatever you want to know.
On air,
there is
off
nothing off. We spent the day yesterday. Oh, can I say?
Yeah.
Yeah. We spent the day yesterday recording me approaching women with a relationship coach. And I looked.
It was so funny.
Man, that was me down to my core of anxiety and nerves. But like, some of the stuff we've said, oh man, most people wouldn't even admit to their friend, let alone on a podcast to thousands of people.
I've seen pigs entering a slaughterhouse with less fear.
That's what I mean. Like, so I think it takes people like us to be able to say, hey, let's normalize this conversation. So just to kind of wrap up my side of the story. So I started blogging as kind of a thing. I was like, hey, I started with the day Allison died, and I just broke down that day. This is what happened. This is everything I went through.
Yeah.
And put it out there for the world. And then that led to me writing for years, which led to me writing a book. Then once the book came out, then it was like, okay, what's next? And I started making the video content. Then I started appearing on podcasts, and then that led me to now hosting my own. So
yeah, wow.
All of this has been this amalgamation of those experiences, but it all centered around the same theme, which is I want to make people feel less alone in their struggle. The best way I know to do that is to share everything that's going on my side. To your point, like what you've experienced, sharing those things. No shame allows people to kind of unburden themselves as well too. I'm sure you experienced that.
Absolutely.
From the show.
Yep.
Yeah,
So,
tell me.
do you reckon when you posted that first blog, did it go like not viral, but did like it go pretty big and like a lot of people saw it, read it, it helped a lot of people? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was. I mean, viral, not in the like millions and millions, but like for what I expected, I put it out there, and then within half a day, I think I had like over 1,000 views on it.
Yeah,
Something
wow.
like
It's
that.
big for a blog too, isn't it?
That's
And
what I
how
mean
long
for a
ago
blog
would that have been?
This would have been in 2018.
Yeah, so even then, like the social media world wasn't what it is now. Like, so that's pretty viral.
That's what I mean. Like, it's all
Yeah.
relative, right? Like, I just kind of put it out there, and I really didn't have a whole lot of a social media presence myself. Anything I did was just like, hey, I went to this concert. Here's some pictures. Like, there was nothing with intent. So I didn't have a built-in following or anything. So to get that kind of reaction was like, whoa, okay, so people care to read this. And then I just kept at it. And the best thing about the blog was that everything I wrote, it was like, I sat down, I had something percolating in my mind. Finally, I had my thoughts collected. I would sit down on my laptop for a night and I would just write it. And then I would publish it that night. I'd wake up the next morning, edit any grammatical mistakes because half the time I was drinking like a glass of bourbon while I was writing it. And I would check the grammatical mistakes and then I would post it and share it and see what happens. And it was really funny too because like my now wife, when we first started dating, we sit down and she's had a chance to like, she looked me up on Facebook. She's able to see the blog. So she has this whole insight into me early into dating that you would never get otherwise. So Liam, do you ever run into that where you meet a woman out and they know a little bit about you because of the podcast?
A little bit. They know everything.
Right, yeah, it's funny. A lot of because I'm in my my dating era, as we'd call it, Will, where I'm just saying yes to like every opportunity because I was in a 10-year relationship, so I'd never really been dating before. So like, if a girl like asks, like I've been on a few dates over the past couple of weeks, but yeah, like a lot of them will listen to the podcast prior, and then like, which is a really good way because it'd be a great conversation
I'm
starter.
shocked that they still go out with you after
So
listening.
am I. So am I. But yeah, I find that a lot. A lot of them will be like, and then they'll ask me questions about it and all of that stuff, and it gets pretty deep and pretty weird. But I don't know. I think what I found quite interesting is that people are very scared. No, people are very hesitant to talk about what they're going through in their mental health, and they're worried about people judging them. But I'll be honest, whether it's women or men that listen to my story and Kirby's story, all of them love it. I don't think I've never spoken to a woman that's listened to the podcast and they go, oh, no, I'm not going near this guy. You know what I mean? Like people actually love the vulnerability and the openness.
on the outer side of it.
What do you mean?
Like you're not going through it. It's
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But
Oh, yeah.
people like the
Right.
vulnerability. People love honesty. They love genuine authenticity. They love honesty. They love when people aren't just trying to lie for something. We're like, we'll tell you everything.
Yeah,
And
we'll
we
tell
do.
you whatever you want. And I think that's another thing that people understand with Kirby and I is that what you see is what you get. Like, we'll be honest. They know that there's no bullshit with us. So the same as you is just putting your story out there to the world and for everyone to see and make their own judgment. It kind of shows your vulnerability and your humbleness.
Yeah, and I think it's funny because people love to say the phrase like "I'm an open book," but then you can actually put your money where your mouth is because you're like,
Yeah.
well, I actually am. You can. Mine is already out there for the world. Feel free to say that.
We
And
share
so I
pretty
love
much
that.
everything, but there's probably some things that are a bit vulgar, and I'm like, I don't mind sharing. Like, I will tell anyone in person, but sometimes I'm like, oh, is that a bit out of like? If you only listen to that episode and I told you about some of my obsessions, you'd be like you need a lot of context
The
leading up
OCD
to it.
obsessions.
Yeah, some of the obsessions, like from the OCD. So there's some things we don't touch on the podcast, and also it's like.
There's enough.
There's enough.
There's enough. We don't
I'll
need
tell
to
you
go
in
into this.
person or over text, but yeah, over a Spotify video, it might get misinterpreted. So we just leave some of it out.
Well, I was going to ask. That's actually like a good follow up there because I'm curious when you're out there being and this goes for you as well, Kirby. When you're thinking about your relationship with your fiance, is it hard for you to find that balance of, well, I am vulnerable, my brand is vulnerability and authenticity, but I have to draw a line at some parts of my private life? Do you ever find trouble with
There's
that?
no line.
You're like, no, everything's on the table.
There's no line, bro. I was actually thinking about this the other day, and
I
I was
live like Big Brother. There's always a camera on.
yeah, you should see our Patreon, man. We were literally standing in Kirby's kitchen the other day talking about how hard this journey is, where a lot of people probably wouldn't post that until after.
They'd always talk about how like, like, oh, can never be defeated and like just keep going, boys.
Pushing.
and
We're
keep
like, fuck,
pushing.
we're defeated right now.
Yeah, we're like, we are down. We are rock bottom. This is why. And yet we share those stories. And like that, because people now have this trust with us that we're going to tell them exactly what we're thinking and exactly what we're feeling. So we feel dishonest if we sit there and tell you about how great things are when we feel like we're at a really low point. So we're like, we just feel dishonest. And when we say those things, people love us even more because they're like, oh, they actually are telling everything.
Well, because if you look at us from an outsider's perspective you probably think that we're making money now. You're probably thinking that, a whole range of things, but we're just standing there going, it's not what you think, like we could easily pretend it is, but it's not, we're not going to fill people with false hope and fill them with stuff that isn't true. Like we're as honest as they come. So I think people really, really like that. But drawing a line, man, I don't think there is one.
It's a line in the sand.
There's probably a couple of things, but again, like we probably just don't dive into the full context of the story on some things, but there's not much we ever talked about.
Like we do avoid like names of people and like we'll refer to them as a person in the past. And it's like, so we don't use names, and when like we don't attack people, like even though there's people we'd love to on air, but we don't. So we don't do that. But then we don't use names either. And like we more talk about ourselves and what we're feeling and then how things made us feel rather than the things that were done to us, if that makes sense. So keep it very,
read between the lines sort of thing.
yeah, but it's like, it's our stories, it's how we're feeling, it's what we're going through. It's not what the rest of the world's doing. It's, if you want to figure out what the rest of the world's doing, I can go outside. But it's like, yeah, it's what we're doing. So yeah.
I think that's a good way to put it, because I think, well, first off, you said draw the line in the sand. I think that's a really good way to look at it, because it's like, you get to decide that for what that looks like for you. Like for me, like for instance, like I completely agree. If I've referred to anything in the past, whether it's a past relationship or something like that, like I'm very careful and intentional to not name names, not do anything, because they didn't sign up for this. Same with people in my life today. Like, they didn't sign up for this. I chose this path, and I'm okay with that. And I'm happy to talk about things and be vulnerable, but I don't ever want to put anybody else on the spot, especially when they're not there to defend themselves. But also, I don't want anyone feeling some type of way about somebody without knowing them fully themselves. Like, that's not fair. I'm just going to talk about how I'm doing and how I'm feeling and what I'm going through, and share those stories and let everything else fall where it may.
Well, like I've got heaps of friends that are massive, massive fans of the show and have said things and shared things and said, use this for your show. Not once I have ever used a name of a person. I've always said my friend. Like never once I've used named a name. So yeah, because as you said, they didn't sign up for it. So
yeah, there's like things with like my ex and stuff and stories, like you said, they didn't sign up for it. And like what's the word? It's sort of like there's got to be a little bit of
respect.
Respect, but also they don't need to know like everything. Like I'm happy to share it, but maybe my ex doesn't want to know all of like people to know all of that stuff. So I just share my side of it, and I'm very non-biased. Like, I don't overshare something that she wouldn't want to know. Even though 2 days after the breakup, we put a video of me basically crying on the podcast on Patreon. But
yeah, but it's behind a paywall. It's behind a pay.
I didn't say anything bad, but yeah, you have to. It's sometimes you just got to kind of. They don't need to see behind the curtain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
On certain things,
and I think, for sure. But I think even if you are someone who has a social media presence and does all that, I think you're still allowed your own privacy to some degree. Like, you're allowed to do some things. You're allowed to draw some of that, because, like hypothetically, if you have kids, right, you could talk about the idea and spirit of having kids, but your kids didn't sign up for that. They shouldn't have their privacy disrespected because of something you choose to do. So I think it's interesting. Now but I'm curious though. So I told my why of where the podcast came from. So now I'm curious from you guys, like what made you start Shared Minds? As far as I know, your first episode came out in late August 2024.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. 28th.
Okay. So what led to that?
Oh, fuck. How long do we have? An hour. That's probably just enough time.
So yeah, it started when I was a child. No, I'm just joking. No, but I suffered from severe OCD from literally since I was a child, but it really started when I was about 20. And then I was dealing with it secretly, but not secretly on purpose. I just kind of thought that it was normal what I was going through. And then fast forward about a year or two, I'm 26 now, Kirby.
But it's almost the same as what Will said, how when he goes like, people ask how he lived with it, and you go, you just did because you didn't know any normal.
I remember telling my mum my compulsions after a little while, and she was like, a compulsion is like, is things that I was doing. Like I'd always do this thing with my fingers, like, and it would have to be the same. Touching toes in cracks, like scratching my eye twice, this one twice, like that sort of stuff. I thought that was kind of normal. But yeah, so I'm 26 now. Me and Kirby met about 4 or 5 years ago now. So it would have been around the time I was 21. I got stuck in a bad OCD obsession that lasted about 9 months, and Kirby was like the first person that I opened up to about it. And it's pretty funny because Kirby has never had to deal with anything like OCD. Like he had depression and anxiety throughout his life, but he's never had to deal with anything like OCD. And it was pretty funny because like from the get-go, he was like, I get it, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like now looking back on it, it was so weird and so like what I was going through doesn't make any sense. But like Kirby's like, yeah, no, I get it. And now I just look and go, how do you get, anyway, how do you get that, Kirby? Like looking back now, he just took it on the chin, and I'm like, yeah, and I'm really grateful that Kirby's one of the first people I opened up to, because like if he wasn't and it was somebody different, there's a lot of people from my past life that if I opened up to about that, they would have just called me weird and moved on. But Kirby ended up taking all the late night phone calls, and me and him would be on the phone till 12, 1 a.m. every night. He would be listening to me going over the same thing over and over again. And yeah, we were working together, and then you started going through it with he was getting depression.
Tell
and
your
anxiety.
compulsion first, so then people can understand. Like,
Oh yeah. So essentially,
what happened?
Essentially, what it was I was engaged at the time, and a lot of my like obsessions and compulsions were false memory OCD. So it was me convincing myself that I cheated on my partner on nights out drinking, which then evolved into like the sober life, which was scary because I'd never dealt with that before. But basically, like imagine going on a night out, getting blackout drunk and waking up the next day and not remembering the entire night. My brain would just fill that with blanks of like cheating on my fiance, killing someone, hurting somebody, spiking somebody, touching a woman inappropriately, nothing positive ever. So I would just spiral on them. And then, yeah, one day I was at work and Kirby was working there at the time, and I was having a really
Been there like 3 months or something.
Yeah, been there about 3 months. And I was having a real tough trot in life, and it was just getting really hard. And the girl that was working in the office at the time, she's about my age, and she was just going through a divorce, I'm pretty sure. And she was in like a bit of a party girl era sort of thing. And she said, do you want to go like around the block for a walk and just tell me what's going on? I was like, all right. So went around, we left the front door of my office and then walked around the block and came back. And I don't think it was more than 40 seconds, this walk. It was about 150, 200 meters, which is not far. So yeah, the walk was about 40 seconds. And I remember sitting down, and in the middle of that walk, I remember thinking, imagine if me and her kissed right now. How random would that be? That'd be kind of weird. Anyway, I didn't think much of it at the time. Come back about 3 hours later, I'm sitting at my desk and I remember having that thought. And I was like, why did I have that thought? Like, that's really random. That's just such a random, weird thought to have. And I was like, did I kiss her? No, I didn't kiss her. Did she kiss me? No, I didn't. And then I obsessed on that until about 9 o'clock at night. It was getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And I basically convinced myself that I did it. And then fast forward 9 months. That obsession lasted for. It was about 55 seconds of every minute of every single day I was thinking about this thing, calling Kirby every single day. For the first couple of months after that walk, me and Kirby weren't very close at that point, and I was convinced that he knew about it, that he knew that we kissed because he was close with the girl and good friends with her. And then one day I was just questioning Kirby, asking him random stuff, and he was like, "Bro, what are you fucking doing? Eh?"
What are you talking about?
It's like, what? Like, you're being weird. And I think that was about the time that I opened up to Kirby about it. And
Yeah, because I said to you, like, because you ask me really weird shit. Not like your standard questions that you'd get from a colleague that you've known for 3
manipulating
months.
question.
Yeah, really manipulating, gaslighting questions. Because one thing that, you know, as Liam said, he thought about it for 55 seconds out of every minute. So he was constantly trying to seek reassurance from people that he didn't, but he felt that you couldn't just go out and ask this person and be like, did we kiss? So he would ask everyone else in a way that would almost get answers out of them. So rather than like coming up to me and go, did me and Lily kiss? And someone go like, oh, what? That's really weird. You know, it'd be like, he goes, have you ever cheated on your partner before? You'd be like, no. And then you'd be like, do you reckon others would know if you did? Like if you went out with someone and you kissed someone, do you reckon everyone would find out? And like, huh? Like
if I kissed a work colleague, do you reckon everyone in the office would know?
Yeah.
Like just stuff like that.
So you were just like pulling at straws, just trying to get a grasp on, does anybody have any idea if this is happening?
Any information. I'm like a
Probing,
detective.
eh?
I'm just a detective, but I'm not. I'm trying to stay undercover and asking all the questions that's not the actual question. So it's like no part of me could ask. My brain would come up with a way of questioning someone, but not directly. But then if I was thinking about asking them directly, I'd be like, no, I can't do that. Which in the end,
because then they'll find out and they'll lie to me.
yeah, or I'll get the answer that I don't want. So it's like asking the question in a certain way to get a certain answer, and then you feel a bit of relief for about 5 seconds, and then you go, oh yeah, but maybe they didn't understand my question properly, and if I asked it this way, so then you obsess over that, and then the next day you ask them a different way, and then the next day you ask them, and it just, but you can never ask them directly because it's kind of weird. So it got to like, yeah, I opened up to
By the
Kirby
way, as
about
if
that.
all the rest of it wasn't weird.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. In my brain, this is completely normal. I honestly thought everyone was going through this. Like, I looked at people that went out partying and drinking that blacked out, and I thought everyone went through the same thing. I thought it was normal. I didn't realize that people just blacked out from drinking and then woke up the next day and didn't think about it again and had some trust in themselves, which I'm trying to work through at the moment. I actually did that the other night, which was really cool. But yeah, it's the other night I went out drinking, blacked out. I was like, did I fight this guy? And I went, you wouldn't do that. Just trust yourself. And that was it. Moved on, which 12, 18 months ago, that was not even possible.
No.
I would have obsessed over that night for months on end. So,
I'm sure a therapist is listening to that going, well, we have some different conversations about blacking out drunk, but that in a weird way that's very therapeutic. I have to imagine when you've been constantly wondering anytime you've had one too many drinks if things are wrong, not because you would actually do them, but because your own brain betrays you and it doesn't allow you to have that thought process. I have to think in a weird way that's got to be like relief to go like, oh, I can do this and I'm normal and I can talk myself out. The only thing I can equate it to me is like when you have anxiety and you find yourself spiraling a bit, and you can kind of find a way to, once you've like realized that, and you can kind of find a way to overcome it. Like for me, it's leaning into the fear. So whatever it is that I'm spiraling about, and like whatever that big fear is that I'm afraid is going to happen, if I just lean into the fear and I'm like,
exposure.
well, that's it's actually not that scary. It's
Yeah.
actually not that bad. And then you're like, well, if I can do that, then the actual answer is really not bad at all. And so you just move on. So I imagine it's a similar feeling for you, Liam, that you're just like, oh, I did this and I'm okay.
Yeah. Oh, definitely 100%. When I was going through it, I couldn't dive into it, and I tried, and turns out the relationship I was in and the environment that I was in was the catalyst for a majority of it, but I didn't realize that, and I was trying to work through it. So it was very hard. I tried a lot of exposure and response. I think that, exposure and response. I sat in the therapist room watching videos of people getting caught cheating, which did nothing but just fill me with more anxiety. It was really, really uncomfortable to watch. Plus paying him like $300 an hour to show me a YouTube video. It was kind of weird. But yeah, and then, so it got to about a few months in, and I just opened up to Kirby. I told him everything, and he was helping me. And my mum.
Oh yeah, no, so that's where I was going. So yeah, you were like probing me with these really weird questions, and I just said to you like, I said like, what are you doing? Like, what do you want to know from me that you're dancing around the topic of? And you were like, oh, can we go outside? And then we went outside. I think we got in my car or something. And then you told me. And like, I felt like when I was looking at him, when Liam was telling me all these things, I was like watching his eyes and I was watching him like start to tear up a bit and like start getting choked up. And I went, oh, he's serious. Like, he's going, I think I kissed her or whatever. And I'm like, and then it was so right field, just so weird. But like you could see by the pain in the eyes, I was like, oh, this guy's actually being like legit. He's serious. Like he actually thinks this has happened. And like, yeah, I don't know. But as I said, it's probably the most roguest thing I'd ever heard in my entire life. But I was just like, no, I believe it and I accept it and he needs help.
After a lot of the other obsessions, that was a pretty stock standard one, eh? Like that wasn't really anything compared to the rest of it.
Oh, the rest were easy from there to deal with. So,
well, yeah, it got to about, yeah, so Kirby and I were talking about it, and about halfway through it, 4 or 5 months in, I got to about a 4 or 5 day period where I hadn't eaten or slept the entire time. I was just an absolute mess. I remember calling my mum at 7 a.m. just crying in my office car park, just going, what is fucking wrong with you?
To also note there, you never once, like Liam never actually told his fiance about this
Any
as
of
well.
She had no idea.
Because he didn't want to then tell her going, I think I cheated on you with a work colleague. And then he would then start spiraling, thinking that she would then go, well, if you think you did, you did. And then he's like, no, but not, like, I don't remember doing it, but I think I did. And like, it's just this whole thing that he didn't want to get into. So he was going home to a 1-bedroom unit and suffering in silence.
Yeah, she had absolutely no idea. Because I thought, like Kirby said, like, if I said to her, this is what's going on, she'd be like, you've just cheated on me. You just don't know how to tell me. You don't want to fess up to it or admit it. So I was like, I just never told her. And I don't, it'd be interesting to get her on the potty. We'll get her on the potty and see what her side of it was. But for like 9
Got a
months.
few things to say.
But for
She's
like
still
9
convinced you actually cheated on her.
Oh, well, no, I ended up telling
she
her in the
knows
end.
now.
But yeah, for 9 months, she had like, I don't even know what her thought process would have been. 'Cause she would have watched me just go down, and got to a point where I couldn't leave the house, couldn't go into shopping centers, do any of that. I was so anxious and so unconfident in myself. I felt so, I don't know, when you're that anxious all the time, it's almost, you just feel like a lost puppy wandering around the African jungle, like, and everything's coming to kill you. Like you're just in fight or flight continuously. So it just destroyed my confidence. But then in the car park, I was talking to my mum, and then she said, I think it's OCD. And I was like, nah, that's not me. I don't have that. So I kind of just let it go and then just kept obsessing. Fast forward a couple more months, a good friend of mine now, Jack, I opened up to him. I don't know why. One day I just jumped in the car. He's like, bro, you're not good. What's wrong? I told him. And then I jumped out of the car quickly to grab something. I jumped back in, and he just confessed his OCD to me. And it was like, it was wild. I was like, what are you talking about, bro? I don't have that. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, oh, actually I do. So after that, when I got therapy, for months on end, spent hundreds of dollars. For a couple of weeks there, I was paying $600 a week in therapy and doctor bills, trying all this new medication. None of it was working. And then Kirby and I wanted to start the podcast, but obviously when you're in that position, you're not being able to help anyone. We could start the podcast and talk about what we're going through, but there's no solution. So it's
We'd be sitting there and I'd go, yeah, like I'm really depressed at the moment. You go, how are you getting out of it? No, I'm not. I'm here just start crying again, like on air. So yeah, we felt like, and as we mentioned before, like we never want to come across as like dishonest or disgenuine or hypocritical. And we were like, we didn't want to be creating it when we weren't ready, because Liam still wasn't fixed of OCD by this point. Well, not fixed, but handled it. Yeah, because it ended up evolving even further. And it was funny from me being someone on the outside looking in and trying to like understand how it worked, and I was slowly piecing it together. And I think I know more about OCD than actual people that have it now. Like I'm a self-proclaimed expert on it now, I think. And
I'm glad you made up the distinction of self-proclaimed.
Yeah, self-proclaimed.
Pick it up here.
Don't come to me for medical advice. But so, like, as we started to figure it out, I figured out that it was like, it attached onto core values. So things that like, so for Liam, all these things ended up revolving into, so like running over people in the streets, killing people, king hitting people resulted in jail. Jail resulted in losing your partner, or like
Family or-
like losing the fiance, losing the family. The cheating resulted in losing the fiance, and I was like, because for that point you'd been with her for 10 years, so you didn't know a life outside of this life, so you were afraid to face life for what it was gonna be. And so it was like, if you went jail, so all of these fears come back to the fear of losing what you currently had. And so when we started getting on top of the 9-month obsession, it started evolving, because and I always talk about OCD as like a living, breathing thing like in your head. And I was like, that is like fueled on dopamine. So when we started, you were getting over the 9-month obsession. It started evolving from just one particular woman to every single woman.
Every woman
He would walk
Like even
past.
someone that you, I say, okay, so anyone, even if you were just like at the mall and you walked by someone, you're like, her.
Prime example.
Yeah.
Kirby did it.
And I found like applying logic to it really helped, because like obviously the compulsions and the thoughts, and like you may know, like it sounds really funny and weird to say, but I know everyone's had it once or twice. When you walk into like a shopping center and you see like a kid and you just thought, what if I kick that kid? And then you just go, oh, but that's weird. And you move on and you don't think twice about it. But like, you know what I mean? Or like you're walking along and you'll be like, oh, what if I just pushed that pot plant over? And then you're like, oh, but that's weird. I wouldn't do that. It's like OCD. Yeah, exactly. OCD latches onto those. So if I go, what if I kick that kid? And I went, oh, but that's just a weird, dumb thought. OCD latches onto, but why did we think that? Do we want to do that? Do we like kicking children? Did we actually do it? If we've thought about it, that means we want to do it. If we want to do it, then that means that that's who we are.
About you?
Yeah, we're a violent person. We harm children. Like it spirals like this.
Well, and also for me, I'm very visual, so I think in almost like it's almost like I have a TV screen in my head. So when I think of kicking the kid, I envision it like a movie. So then 5 minutes later, I can't deter whether that was a thought or I actually did it.
That I'm finding fascinating about this conversation, because again, you know, Kirby, I'm with you. Like, I think we all have had that thought of like something, and maybe it's not kicking a kid, but we've all had that thought in our head.
Something
what
weird.
if we did this thing that other people would be like, really? But you know you've had that thought at some point in your mind.
Yeah.
We can all relate to that. But what I find fascinating for Liam then is that like it just keeps reliving in your mind, and then you then can't distinguish between this idea and real life. That break is fascinating.
It's
you're
funny.
aware of it. That's the other weird part. You're aware that that's a conflict in your mind.
How do I explain this? So
It's like if you know when you wake up in the middle of the night and you've had like a weird dream or like a bad dream, and when you wake up and it's the middle of the night and it's pitch black, but it felt so real, and you're like looking around going, did that actually happen? And you can't deter whether it happened or not. It's like that's what you feel like. So instead of it like in that moment of, oh, like was that a dream? But it felt so real. Like that's what you feel.
And then
you
it's
envision it so often.
And it's also and then on top of that, you get anxiety attached to the thought. So once you get anxiety attached to the thought, it sends a message to your brain that, oh, this is something that we need to worry about. So we need to think about it again and again and again and again. Where like it's like a shot of anxiety. It's almost like a panic attack in the moment. It's like you get the anxiety in your stomach, up your chest, through your throat, your legs go numb. You're like, oh my God. And then it's all you can think about. So it's constantly on replay. And then the most frustrating thing about OCD that used to just kill me is if you can distract yourself from that initial obsession. So if I think about kicking that kid and I have anxiety and then I distract myself and veer off and do something else, if I come back and revisit that thought in 10 minutes, it doesn't have any power or effect on me. But if I consistently sit there and obsess over it and don't give it any time, I give it too much time, then I'll get stuck in it. So like the longer you're stuck in it, the longer it takes to get out. So it's like, I only learned not even a year, coming up to a year ago, like starve the monster and starve the thought. And then once I have a bad thought, try and veer off and think about something else, which is way harder done in like real life than it is in theory. But it takes a bit of time to get used to. But yeah, like I didn't know that. So you just dive head on into this thought and then you bang, stuck. If you obsess on it for a
You
day,
need to go, why did I do that? Let's
Yeah.
go to the end of it. Let's think if it was real. I don't think it was actually real, was it? Let's ask every person I've ever met.
yeah.
Like,
Like I remember one day I was in New York and I was at the museum there and this guy walked past me and it was like on the top row and like for some reason they only had like the balustrade like beam thing up to the hip height. So if I really wanted to, I could have pushed somebody over the edge. And like, so me and this guy kind of walked into each other a little bit. And I kind of, about a minute later, convinced myself that I had shoulder charged him and he'd fallen off the balcony and he'd died. And I remember looking over the balcony at the time, just staring. And then I walked off and then I came back and I stared at it again. And then I ran down the stairs and I checked and I was like, all right, if he fell, there'd be a paramedic here and security and everything. And I remember my ex at the time looked at me and she goes, do you think you pushed that guy off the balcony? So it was like, even looking at it and knowing and seeing it there still wasn't enough. Like it still consumed me. So it's the whole process of trying to starve that thought initially. So that's just something I wasn't consciously aware of for years until I was like 25.
it's kind of like if you light a match and you throw it on the ground and then it lands on like a pile of like dry straw and it runs, it trails, and then it leads to a big pile of a big mountain of straw. If you can stamp it out before it gets to the pile of straw, it's nothing. It doesn't mean a thing.
Fuck, you come up with some good analogies.
Yeah, that was on the spot. But if you keep watching it, it'll hit the pile of straw and just go. Like,
You beat me to it. I was trying to come up with a good analogy too, and I hadn't gotten there yet. But that just shows how good of a friend you are. You've been
I've got
living
about
in his
50
mind for
loaded.
so much.
Oh man, Kirby got every single thought I had since I've met him. Like he was there for every single obsession.
we were at the point where when it was and Liam said this, and like and as far from someone, from my perspective, to kind of watch it unfold and know that there wasn't really much that I could do, and watching it just destroy Liam, it was absolutely heartbreaking. So, like, say for example, he would only go grocery shopping at like 9 o'clock at night because you were afraid that you would run into.
Girl.
I'll backstep it first to when it became that one girl to every girl. You and me would walk through the shopping center. And we'd be walking, and then you'd just go like,
And then you knew before I said it.
and then you'd look at me, and I'd be like, "No, you didn't." And you're like, "Oh, you sure?" Yep. Or then like Liam would look at me and he goes, "Did I kiss the girl in the red dress then?" And I'm like, Who? I look back, that one. No, you did. How? You had to cross past me, stop her screaming child, give her plant one on her, and then she just carried on her merry way. It's like
It even happened with guys walking with their girlfriend, man. Like there was no logic or it didn't need any logic behind it in order for it to make sense to me. Like I remember walking past a couple in my apartment complex and she said hello to me with her husband or boyfriend. And I was like, oh no, did I kiss her? Like, and you would think right now, you go, wouldn't the boyfriend come up and smack the shit out of me?
Most, maybe
both
not
let it
all.
go.
Maybe there's some that are smaller than you. They're like, you know what? It's not worth it. That's his now. Like,
yeah.
Okay, so then let me.
But like even them would say something. They would go and just walk
Right.
on about their day.
Right. That's a certain breed of guy that wouldn't say anything. But
Yeah.
okay, so now I'm curious though, because like that's the tricky part, right? Is right now you're not in the episode, so you are aware that like that's illogical right now in the moment. But I imagine when it happens for you, you can't necessarily talk yourself out of it. But is it therapeutic then for Kirby to point out the logic? Does that still work,
Yeah.
or does that like do nothing for you?
That's all I did was logic. So like Liam would go like, "Oh, did I kiss her?" I'd turn to him and go, "Did I?" And he'd be like,
did that
"Why
to
would
everyone.
you kiss her? How would you have had chance to? How would you have time to go over there and do it?" I go, "Exactly."
It was a sliding doors moment. I remember I said to Kirby, did I kiss her? And he goes, did I? And I go, no, that'd be fucking weird. And he goes, what do you think? I'm like, oh, that would be fucking weird. But like, so I was in a 10-year relationship. I'm 26 now. I got in when I was 16. And towards the end of that relationship, it just didn't, we just weren't compatible anymore. And the relationship kind of took a really bad toll, like the last 2 years, and that was when my OCD flared up. And that relationship came to an end last year in September. And my OCD just slowly just started like lifting away, and I still get it now to this day. With certain things, I still have the compulsions with my hands and stuff, and I might get stuck in a random obsession every now and again, but I don't know how to deal with it. But what I found that was the environment that I was in, and high stressful anxiety situations will bring it back. Like when I broke up with my ex, after a month or so, it kind of went away. And then I started dating another girl, and I was going to quit my job. And then I went into the office, and then I nearly got stuck in an obsession on kissing a girl in the office because I was dating a new girl. And then I noticed it was the environment that I was in. So that played a massive role in it. So for anyone that's listening that's got OCD,
Or even general anxiety, OCD, anything, the environment is almost everything.
yeah, and you don't realize, and it becomes a new normal, whether it's a bad relationship, a bad workplace, a bad friendship, and it causes you extreme anxiety, then that is going to dictate your life, and you won't really realize it. And it's something that I didn't realize, and I was trying to work through it through that relationship. And it's funny because I was so terrified of it ending and all of these things. But at the end of the day, that was the best thing that ever happened to me in my life. And it's like the best, because I'd never been single really. Like at 18 and 19, we broke up a bit. And I went out and partied and stuff, but I'd never been single and gone out on dates and stuff. But even yesterday, when the relationship coach was trying to teach me how to talk to women, going on the beach and then having that conversation with them and trying to like get their number or whatever we were doing kind of helped me realize that you can't just kiss women. So going into the next relationship and getting this experience, it's going to help me so much more. And it's like, remember that time you went and tried to talk to women on the beach? You didn't kiss them, so it's
And that would have been higher likelihood than that random woman you saw at the grocery store.
exactly.
I remember, so we started the podcast in like August. Liam broke up with his partner in September, and then in November was my Bucks party. And so 15 of the boys, we all flew up to have my Bucks party to this place called Cairns. And so at this point, Liam was single, and I remember it was so funny. He was smashed one night. You were so drunk one night. You come running up to me, you grab both my shoulders, you go, "Kirby." I go, "What?" And you go, "Why did my OCD think kissing women was so much easier than what it actually is?" like it's so much harder than what it made out to be.
Okay, so confession. This entire time that we've been having this conversation, I'm like, are you just that good looking of a guy that you're like,
in my head,
your
I
mind,
thought that.
that's a normal thing that can just occur? And like, I'm not trying to invalidate your feelings.
No, bro, I said this to Kirby. Kirby and my mum
what
said this. They said, "Do you think you're so fucking good looking
That
Right.
women
Married
with their
women-
wives and children will just drop them
grab you?" But it's funny because I knew, it's like you said, like part of you knows it's not real. And then there's this part of your brain that goes, what if? Like, what if this is real? And that's when you're in the thick of it, that what if part of your brain takes up 95%. And there doesn't need to be logic or anything in front of it. But once you start getting on top of it, you can have more of the logical side, which then kind of brings. So, like now, I don't think that at all. Like, but it is funny that you say that because I remember Kirby and my mum would say, "How fucking good looking do you think that you are? That these women are just throwing themselves at you." And I knew it was dumb, but part of me knew that it was dumb and it wasn't real. But at that time and the way that I let it consume me, that was 95% of my brain. I couldn't win. I couldn't beat it. But now that I'm on the other side of it, part of me just goes, just drop that ego.
So have you found, and we really, Kirby, haven't gotten into your side of things from the mental health journey, but have you found starting the podcast to be therapeutic, or has it brought up feelings you didn't want to bring up again?
It's been unreal.
We've
honestly,
learned so much.
It's the best thing that we've ever done. I love getting my story out there, and Kirby loves getting his story out there. I love sharing my OCD. Like, it's the prime reason for like this podcast is the big man here, Luke Combs, from your motherland. Very lucky. You could drive to him right now. And another guy that we had on the podcast called Osher Ginsberg. They both talked about their OCD on podcasts. And when I was going through it and I was in a really bad, dark place, I was on the internet looking for videos about OCD and I couldn't find any. They were the only two I could find. I listened to them religiously. Like I listened to them hundreds of times each, especially the Luke Combs one. And every time it feels therapeutic doing this podcast because I'm like, you never know who's listening to me or Kirby telling the story and just going, oh my God, I'm not insane. Like, this is normal. This is real. So it's definitely therapeutic, but it's also good to just speak about it out loud. And there's just only good that's come from it. And then every guest that we get helps us along the way. And all we take out of this podcast is value. So it's just, we love it. We love it. There's nothing that we've said that I'd take back.
No. And like, I've said it to Liam multiple times. You know how you always see those videos where people go like, if I were offered you $1 million to quit your job right now and I can put you in your dream job, and, you know, if you want to be the head of the NFL recruitment league, you can do it right now. It's like, if someone come up to me and said, I'll give you $1 million to go quit the podcast and go create your dream job, what would it be? I'd go, I'd do a podcast with Liam. Like, there is nothing right now that could pull me away from it. I'm like,
Nothing.
no, this is my dream. This is
what we're on the earth to do. So yeah, there's nothing there's no offer on the planet. Maybe like a side job to bring in some money would be good. Like a radio gig or something would do.
No, we have sponsors now. We're all good.
We do actually. We got a sponsor yesterday, which is cool.
Hell yeah, congrats.
Thanks, man. But yeah, if we weren't doing this, we'd be doing this. Plug lip
I'll be doing this if I wasn't doing this.
It's one of his songs.
It's interesting you say that, because like that's Mr. Beast talked about that on a recent podcast. He was on the Diary of a CEO.
That was good. That was a really good one.
Yeah, and he talked about that because he was like, people have offered him, you know, $1 billion or more for a channel, and people are like, how would you not take that money? He's like, well, let's think about it. If I had $1 billion, then obviously I wouldn't have to work. What would I do with my time? And
I'd go start another YouTube channel.
He's like, I would probably just do another YouTube channel because I love doing this.
Yeah.
He's like, so if I'm going to do that, why not just work on the thing that I already have? You know?
Yeah,
exactly.
And I think there's something really beautiful about that. So I commend you both. And it's awesome that you got sponsors. How did that go about?
We were literally sitting there yesterday and we got an email, and it was just from this company. We haven't signed anything yet, so we can't say anything. But yeah, like
we're not giving them free plugs yet.
Yeah, you got to earn that. You got to fucking earn that.
You gotta earn that.
And Kirby and I aren't that interested in like affiliate programs. Like if they're like, oh, you know, if you know, they buy the product, you get a little clip. Like, we're not really that interested in that. It doesn't really. We come from real estate and it's incentive based, and it's like, you put the money in front of us and we will do whatever we can to do the best job for you possible. And this brand deal came along where it was like upfront money for, I think it was quite fair. I think a lot of creators kind of get ripped off in that world.
There was like we can't say much, but there's like a monthly contract. It's like, if you meet X quotas in the month, you get X.
And not even engagement, just what we need to do. And it's like like some posts and all of that stuff. So it's like an upfront payment. And then also you get affiliate codes and that on the side as well. But I don't know. I think
pretty obvious who they are in about 2-3 weeks time. So.
Oh, you'll know.
I'm going to be very clear. I think I'm going to know.
I'm switching from one brand to another with the shit. But yeah, so it's quite interesting. It's quite exciting. But yeah, Kirby and I, you know, we're not interested in that like affiliate code. And I think people tend to get ripped off on that quite a bit. It's like, you get 5%. It's like, yeah, but without me, they wouldn't have gone to the website at all. So why am I only getting 5%? So I like it.
point.
We got offered that upfront sort of thing, and we're like, done. Yeah, let's do it. So
Also, we like that, like the audience that we've built, because we have like,
and it's in line with us too.
yeah, and like we have like community chats and all that, and we've created like chats for people and like connecting people and all that kind of stuff. People trust what we put out and what we say. So we're like, we want to actually, you know, because an affiliate code, you do it just to make money off it. But we're like, if someone actually pays us, and we'll be like, do we like your brand? Yeah, we do. Now we'll recommend it to our people. So yeah, that's
And a
one
good,
thing
yeah.
that's quite big
I
on.
can't say that actually. That will give it away. But yeah, man, it's good.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I'll tell you about my side quickly though. Where's Liam had a. No, I'm going to reword that. People could be listening. So I was in a 10-year relationship as well that ended horribly, but with real estate. So yeah, so I did. Yes, he's caught on what I was going to say now. Yeah, so I did real estate for 10 years. Straight out of graduating high school, and it's funny because all of these lessons and these self-discovery things, a lot of it has happened during the podcast because of the people that we've met, etc. So basically, like in high school, I was loved by everyone. I knew everyone. I knew everyone's name, story, where they're up to. I was the chamber of secrets. I knew everything about everyone. And everyone trusted me with their stuff. But then, hey, there we go. He knows
You
what I'm
always
talking
give me with a
about.
Harry Potter reference every single time. I'm covered.
It was a goodie. It was a goodie. That one was top of the dome as well, so I'm proud of that one. But yeah, so anyway, I learned basically I was me in high school. I was unapologetic for who I was. I was, as we said, I was in musicals. I was just friends with everyone. Now, upon doing like guests and research, and I'm doing a lot of NLP training now and like disc profiling. So it's like
Neurolinguistics program.
neuro-linguistic programming. So I started to learn who I was looking back in high school, and that's when I was the happiest. Then when I transitioned into real estate, because for the first 2 or 3 years, I was just like an associate or kind of like an underling to another agent. So I was just being me. I was being friendly. I was fun. I was going out. I was meeting people. I was doing my job well. But then when I stepped up to being a lead salesperson, I started getting conditioned, and this is by a different group. So I moved to another group. I started being, and for 3 years, I'd always seen the dream of what an elite real estate agent looks like, and how much money you can make, and how great life is, and how good this is, and how this and this and that's all. It all should have come out of the asshole instead of a bunch of shit. So
They'd love to sell you any sales role ever. Loves to sell you on the dream. This guy over here, he's making this much money, and this could be you if you put the hard work and dedication into it.
Yeah.
He's only sacrificed his wife and his kids and his life.
And his mental health and his
Everything.
and he's gonna die at
He
40
hates
years
everything
age.
about it, but he loves the money.
Yeah. And with the money, he tries to fill the emptyless pit with anyway, we can go on about this all day. But yeah, so
Smoke coming out of there.
the smokes. You can see the smoke coming out of them. So yeah, telling me I can do this and this, and then because I was for those 3 years, I could see what could be, and then when I was shown how to be, well, I wasn't shown. I was forcefully jamming a circle through a square hole, and I started becoming someone who I wasn't to my core. So when you think of a typical real estate agent, the picture that pops into your head is probably one of the furthest things from me that you'll get. So I was trying to be this pushy salesperson, and then I was failing at work, not failing, but not doing well. There was a lot more losses, a lot more losses than there was wins. And it was just chipping away at me, chipping. And then I started falling into started getting really bad anxiety. And then the anxiety started leading into I don't like to say depression because I know that there's a lot of people that can't get out of bed. I know that there's people that suffer from depression, and I hate saying that I had it because I was still able to get up and go to work, and I feel like not a cheat, but you get what I mean though, right?
It's all relative.
There's levels to this thing. I think you can say that, it's your lived experience, but you're also cognizant of the fact that someone may have had it worse.
Yeah, and I don't want to be one of those guys that's going out going, oh, I had it so hard. And then people are like, but you still went to work and were still making great money. And it's like, well, yeah, I know, I could get out. Anyway, that's just me
relative
being,
though. Everyone deals
with it different. I get it. But yeah, so really, really bad time in my life. And then I met Liam.
got worse.
Yeah, it got worse.
Way worse.
It got way worse. It just amplified
Or it got better because he saw you and was like, wait a minute. This could be so much worse.
Yeah, it could be way worse. And yeah, so it was funny. The timing of meeting Liam was when I was at probably the one, one of my worst. I'd gotten really fat. I just put it bluntly. I did. I was a real chubba bubba. And yeah.
Best name I've ever heard.
Chubba bubber. Chubba Bubba. And then, yeah, and it was funny upon like meeting Liam, it's like we kind of had each other to lean on, where it's like he was like leaning on me for like this, for like the OCD support, but then like I was helping him get through it. So it was giving me some kind of purpose to like work for and something to like be like, yeah, I can help this guy, I can get him through it. Because what I realized recently at the Bucks party is because my Bucks party was like a group of 4 friends. So there was like 3 to 4 of each group. So there was like 3 to 4, but then like four groups. And one of the guys had gone around and talked to everyone in the group, and he come up to me and he goes, do you know everyone in this group said that you're like unwavering positivity and like everything will always, you know, like everything will work out and everything will be all right mentality got at least one person through of each group got them through. And I went, wow, I hadn't even really realized that before, but then
I'm a great dude.
yeah. Just start ringing that bell. But yeah, like it was, yeah. And that's all I've got going for me is uninspiring positivity that things will always be better and things will be better and keep pushing.
He's the bloke that like the ship sinks and he's still standing there like, it's going to be okay.
He's like, we got free water.
It's a free bath.
Yeah. The ship's sinking and I'm sitting on one little bit of plywood and go, we're still above water, boys. Like, so, yeah. It's floating past us. Grab a barrel on your way past. So, yeah, that's me. And then, yeah, we created the show based off...
Quit our jobs.
Yeah, we did do that. We didn't do that
You
first.
went all in right away.
All
I thought
in.
you like had a little like you had a little bit of like a grace period, and then you were like,
No.
all right, I think it's time to go on. You went right at the beginning. You're like, we're starting a podcast. And I love, and by the way, I think it's worth calling out for those who, on my side of things, who may not know who you are. Like, you have set out from the beginning without flinching. A, you quit your jobs. But then B, you said, we're going to be the #1 mental health podcast in Australia.
Correct. Yes.
And you've never shied away from that.
No.
So
It'll happen.
We were.
believe that.
It was February 13th. We had 1,000 Instagram followers.
We quit. We'd already quit.
We had 1,000 Instagram followers. We had no job.
Getting 400 views a reel.
Yeah, getting 400 views.
Like,
Yeah, on
no
Insta-
profile.
No profile, no proof, no big guest to actually show that we could do it. But look at us now.
you got a sponsor, so watch out.
Yeah, it was
absolute undeniable faith.
It's funny looking back, and people literally say, "What's your business plan?" And we literally, like, we just have milestones. So it was like, like Kirby's wedding's on the 11th, and we're like, "Yeah, get to Kirby's wedding and see where we're at." There's no plan B either. It's just like,
People ask what our business plan was.
Don't
And it
have
was interview Jim from Jim's Mowing.
he's like the biggest franchisee owner in Australia. We got to that,
That's after that. Interview Osher.
and then we interviewed Osher, and then we did that, and now we're like,
Now
"Get
it's
to Kirby's wedding." But it works. It works.
We just have no plan B.
There is no plan B. Like, you've just got to.
It'll happen.
Plan B is planning to fail, and I used to be quite against that when I was in real estate, and I thought, no, you need that safety net. But I've actually thought now, I was like, if we had a plan B, there's been some scary times in this journey that we're like, you know, we've had some dark days, dark weeks where we're like, fuck, what are we doing? And if you had a plan B, I think you would have pulled the trigger a lot earlier and maybe bailed and pulled that parachute. But it's like, we're at the point now where the ships are burned. I said to Kirby yesterday, it's like we're on the Titanic and the ship's been gone for 9 days and we're just on a raft and we can't figure out which way's north. But
We're
it's
hanging
like,
onto an ice cube.
yeah, like we're just way too far gone at this point where it's like, just got to keep going. We've told the world what we're going to do and we've got to do it now.
You know when like all the boys take off from the pub and like jump in the Uber and you go, "Oh, good boys, I'll walk," and then about 2 minutes in you go, "Fuck, I should have gone to bed." Like it's like, well, now we've got to walk.
Now we've got to walk. We'll get there eventually.
So what? I mean, I have so many questions, but the biggest one that comes to mind is like, well, you are famously single right now, Liam. But like, what did your wife say, Kirby?
In regards to,
She was the biggest
quitting your
supporter,
job.
eh?
she's the biggest supporter of the show. The show wouldn't be possible without her. So she believes in it. And she saw what being in real estate was making me compared to when I was doing this. And yeah, she just knew that it wasn't an option. Like, she knew that I had to do this. She knew that, like, yeah, she's just, yeah.
She didn't even question it. Kirby's like, I'm quitting my job and doing the podcast full time. She's like, okay.
That's a special woman.
Yeah, definitely. So, but like, there's been various stages in our relationship where she's done same sort of thing. Where so when we first met, she was working full time. No, she was doing uni and working at like one of our supermarkets here, and so she ended up quitting that, and then I supported her while she was just full time doing uni. And now so she's supporting us doing it. But like, yeah, no, she's amazing. So yeah, the podcast would not exist without her. Is all I'm saying. Like, she's been so supportive, so like whatever we need, understands, like, you know, because I'm doing late night stuff, so there's times that I don't get to see her because I've been working late doing stuff. But she completely understands. She goes, nah, like, it has to be done. I get it. So because she's bought into the vision and she knows that when this becomes number one, not like the reward, but the payoff it's going to have is going to be so worth the sacrifice. So she knows that and she understands that. So I'm so thankful that, yeah, as I said, it wouldn't be possible without her. So, yeah.
Well, that's incredible that you have that. I mean, like,
Yeah.
not everyone can say that with a partner. And I think, by the way, like, and you've experienced this now, I think, with her, and I know I do too. It's like, I have a lot of friends who maybe haven't quite found the right person yet in their life, guy, girl, whoever, and they've had maybe some failed relationships, and they're like, they just don't see like the value. They've lost sight of like what the value of a great relationship is.
Yeah.
And it's really disheartening because you're like, oh, if you knew how amazing it felt, how invincible you can feel with the right person to support you.
How you feeling? Yeah.
I'm going to go make a reel.
Just kicking him while he's down.
Good to see you.
Yeah. And Kirby and I are great. Liam, how are you?
Good, boys. I'm just floating. I think I've got a reel in mind
Making it
today.
to Kirby's wedding.
You guys just keep talking about how good it is. I'm just going to throw these off.
Just a subtle reminder. So.
No, but you are right.
No, you are right.
You are right. And like Kirby's actually used those exact words before.
Yeah. I say the same thing. Like, my wife always wants to give me the credit. She's like, you're the one who's doing all this stuff. I'm like, I am not me without you. Any success I have is because I know that on the good days, the bad days, and everything, I get to come to you and build this life with you and have that support with you. So yeah, maybe you're not front and center and on the camera and on the mic or any of those things, but I am only able to be my whole self because of the strength you give me.
Oh, of course, yeah. No, I get that.
Yeah. So it's, I always want to encourage people, like, don't settle for anything fucking less than that.
Yep.
I'm just
And
going to
it's
go
like-
cry quickly.
It's like this battle of life is hard enough as it is. It's like you don't want someone who's going to make it harder for you.
Absolutely. And I just had a really good friend of mine go through that where he had kind of like lost hope in like that, like what a relationship could be. And then he found the person and he got to tell me subtly, he's like, you were right, by the way.
Yeah, he's like, oh,
It always comes when you're not looking, I hear. It'll happen when it happens.
You heard that a lot.
So I'll make an amendment to that. Here's what I will say about that. I understand the logic of what people are saying when they say that, and I get why they feel that way. But I would say also like a big part of it too is like understanding that you need all the shit to happen to you to know and be prepared to be the best. Like if I had met my wife 5 years earlier than you say like, oh, I wish I had more days with you. It's like, but if I had met my wife any earlier than I met her, I would not be the partner she needed or wanted to be with forever.
Yeah, you wouldn't have got
Right.
together. Yeah.
Right. Like, or like, I'm confident if she met me in like my mid 20s, or she didn't meet me in my mid 20s, if she met me in my early 20s, I should say, like, there's no way in hell she would have even pursued this
Yeah.
at all.
Oh, yeah. I get that.
And so I think that's part of the
Absolutely.
journey too. You have to like go through those things to know what it is you want to make you not settle.
That's true. That's a lot of the stuff I'm finding out at the moment is after now becoming single and reflecting, I'm like, going into the next one, I'm like, yep, I know what I want. And I know what I won't settle for. And like you said, don't settle for less. It's like, I will not settle for less. And you got to be a little bit ruthless with it, but I like it.
No, it's holding yourself to a standard that you deserve. It's a quote from Perks of Being a Wallflower. We tend to accept the love we think we deserve.
Yep.
And you
Yep.
gotta have more belief
that's
in
right.
yourself. You gotta have more belief in yourself than that.
And you got to understand, and people used to say, you've got to learn to love yourself. And I was like, oh, what does that even mean? But I'm like, maybe it's not love yourself, but maybe it's more understand yourself and get who
Okay.
you are and what you need. Because that loving yourself thing, it's a bit of a cliche thing, but I actually think it's just understanding who you are and what you deserve and putting yourself on that pedestal rather than everybody else.
And being honest about what that person is. Right? Being honest about what it is you want in this life. Being honest with who you are, what's in your spirit. I mean, there's one thing when your partner wants to make you better, right? And like help elevate you for the right reasons. But if they're trying to change the core and essence of who you are to fit a mold that they are, that's not love. That's manipulation.
Yeah. Big time.
Yeah.
We know that word well, don't we?
Yeah,
Kirby?
we certainly do. All right, well, we might have to call it there as we've got another one to run to. But we'll
you're good.
thank you so much for that.
Thanks
That was
for having us,
awesome,
man.
That was great fun.
Yeah. You want me to stop recording?
Yeah.
Yeah.